I believe that every movie adheres to the 29-point story structure. No matter if the writer outlines first or if they dive in blind, the end product follows the same 29 beats. Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides is my 48th piece of evidence. This is pretty much what I expected the second Pirates movie to be like, in scale and tone, and it might just be my favorite so far. It feels a little lacking with the absence of Elizabeth and Will, but the Jack Gibbs Barbossa trio is damn entertaining. I barely noticed the extended runtime, and that's a testament to the superior package that this movie turned into. Rob Marshall took up Gore Verbinski's franchise torch, with the weight of a mostly happy fandom heavy upon his shoulders. It seems he relied on veterans Depp, Rush, and McNally to shape the world, and 4 installments in, they all look to be having the time of their lives. And the swashbuckling trilogy's continuation found its success in no small part to the 29-point story structure. Let's begin. E-type focus on the core elements of the protagonist's personality, inner conflict, and situation. We dive right in with a fresh lead regarding the Fountain of Youth, then jump right over to the real Jack Sparrow, passing judgment on a fake Jack Sparrow, by way of reintroduction to Mr. Gibbs and catch-up of Jack's failed quest for said fountain, and the erratic reversal of fortunes wrought in Jack's escapades. Where, why, and how the protagonists exist in their world, with a focus on why they don't quite fit in. King George conscripts Jack into service for a race to the Fountain of Youth. A singular event that's never happened before, and is destined to lead the characters away from their status quo. Seemingly undead, yet still rotting, Barbossa is revealed to be under command of King George, a far cry from his pirate roots. An examination of what's different in light of the something new, what's the same in spite of it in relation to the status quo. Jack flouts King George's and Barbossa's command, then he bamboozles everyone around him, including himself, in a grand escape. The discovery that things are less than ideal, or an exploration of how badly things are. Captain Teague warns Jack about setting sail before he knows everything he needs to, then faces off with another fake Jack Sparrow, a nearly perfect duplicate. Characters dedicate their effort to a specified goal, which is smaller in scope than the primary objective of the third act. Jack negotiates his way to a ship and a crew, while Angelica prods for intel about the fountain. A brief checklist of the story elements needed for the second act. Fight scenes and action choreography, a new Barbossa and the quest for the Fountain of Youth, the power of information, and a confuddled Jack Sparrow. The singular event that launches the characters into the wild jungle of the second act, also called an oh shit moment. Jack discovers he's been conscripted into the service of another badass pirate legend, Blackbeard. Oh shit, yes. Characters must learn all new rules and expectations distinct to this adventure. Jack falls in line as Blackbeard's crewman while he gathers intel about his newfound surroundings, then learns there's deception afoot of the dubiously Jack nature. Characters showcase their ability to grow in the areas this adventure requires, typically through external means. Mr. Gibbs provides a heading, while the lack of arms from the Spaniards confirm that this is a foot race, so to speak, and Jack successfully sparks a mutiny, something he seems to know a lot about. Characters face legitimate and understandable reasons to deviate from their stated convictions, agendas, or desires. Jack moves to protect Angelica from the mutiny he conjured. Then that same mutiny is quelled by the simple and very real presence of Blackbeard and his supernatural ship. An escalation of problems that vex the characters. Jack divorces from the mutiny as the next step in his scheme. The priest helps prod along some vague exposition about who's needed and why, then they're treated to the bloodlust of their captain. A Jack Sparrow voodoo doll robs the real Jack Sparrow of his leverage to work his magic, and Barbossa confirms they're racing toward mermaid-infested waters. Characters evolve internally by utilizing everything they've gathered and learned. Jack is tempted into service by Angelica, with the Black Pearl promised as a reward. Angelica swipes the voodoo doll, then the crew are set out as bait to make contact with the mermaids. Journey-weary characters reconcile the reality of their ongoing situation with who they were in the first act. Action on a large scale, and Jack's creative and lucky and damn entertaining antics for getting the job done. A singular event that strikes at the protagonist's core conflict. The priest helps capture a mermaid, and there's no turning back from here. Characters find needed answers for both external and internal conflicts. Barboza demonstrates his cruelty and makes it known the price for failure, while Jack learns more about the ritual which his father warned him not to wing it. The clarified objective is realized in part or in whole, though it's meaningless without the completion of the primary objective. The mermaid and the priest begin to bond, but it's to the ultimate benefit of Blackbeard. Then Jack finds an opportunity to get Angelica free of danger, but it means someone's jumping over a cliff. An existential conflict that wounds the character's sense of self, worldly identity, or their journey. Blackbeard forces a game of chance to prod Jack into jumping off the cliff, which rattles Angelica's confident safety in her father's presence, and Barboza finds himself a teeny tiny agent of death. Then Jack finds the cove that houses the Santiago, and the priest takes on the mermaid as his personal charge. An undeniable win for the protagonist, typically in direct connection to the rebirth. The priest defends the mermaid, demanding the humanity of a name, and she swoons. Then Jack reaches the Santiago. A grand loss directly connected to the character's newfound inability to quit the journey. Barboza reveals that he beat Jack to the location of the chalices. Then they discover that the Spanish already beat them both. A thematic freefall tied directly to the heavy price. Angelica creates an imposter corpse with the priest in a ruse to draw out a tear. Jack reveals the rest of his backstory with Angelica, seemingly the inspiration for her ruse. He and Barboza retrieve the chalices with on-brand silliness, and the priest scrambles to save the mermaid. A singular event that robs the protagonist of seemingly any chance of success. Blackbeard gets the tear, and leaves the mermaid to die. Characters cannot return to their starting personas, and must turn to face the primary objective. Barboza reveals the truth of his objective, his revenge mission for sinking the Black Pearl. Jack coordinates another fantastical escape action sequence, then they jet off together towards the fountain. Characters move towards the climax while utilizing the major swings and sneaky misdirections of the story. Jack negotiates with as many creative elements as he can gather, then leads Blackbeard to the Fountain of Youth, reveals his Barboza surprise, then all hell breaks loose. The final confrontation between the protagonist and the antagonistic force. The Spanish arrive, determined to destroy an ageless wonder of the world because religion. Barboza takes his foretold revenge and gathers Blackbeard's men and ship in the fallout. Angelica places her life in venomous jeopardy. Then the mermaid comes through with a huge solid. The singular event where the protagonist finally confronts their place in the status quo. Jack provides the chalices, already fairly certain that he can trust a dishonest person to be dishonest. Savvy? The direct aftermath of the climax. Jack reveals his ruse, and Blackbeard is sacrificed to save Angelica from certain death. The consequences of the climax in relation to other characters and the status quo. The mermaid saves the priest by drowning him and eating him. Cool, cool. Jack leaves Angelica stranded on a desert island, though alive, and Barboza takes over Blackbeard's ship with all the supernatural powers it possesses. A tight focus on the protagonist contrasted from the opening. Jack, with trusted Gibbs by his side, muses on how to free his beloved Black Pearl, and a brand new view on death since his ordeal with Davy Jones. And there you have it. My 48th example to support my argument that all movies follow the exact same story structure, regardless of how the writer approaches their craft. On Stranger Tides marched steadily along the story, and it kept the sequences balanced and the pace comfortable. And as shown, every step of the 29-point story structure is accounted for and in order. But does this Jack Sparrow side quest follow the same plot beats as the family-friendly reimagining of classic 80s horror movie Maximum Overdrive? Yes. Yes, it arguably does. Next on my docket, the Mitchells versus the Machines. Please subscribe to stay up to date with this and future videos, and please like and comment with your thoughts and reactions. I'll talk to you next time.